Hi there, students. You know, when classes get really boring, I think students tend to daydream. Okay, normally you dream when you're asleep and you have strange ideas. But if you're daydreaming, you're thinking about different things, but in a fantasy world, yeah? You're musing, if you like, yeah? You're maybe making plans or having ideas that are fantastical, that are not realistic or very improbable, yeah? And that's the idea of daydreaming, yeah? You start thinking about things and everything's a perfect world and everything works perfectly and things just fall in place. And you make plans about it and you imagine, and that's daydreaming. But while you're daydreaming, you're not listening to the teacher who's talking. But, well, that's one of the things that happens if lessons are boring. A daydreamer is a person who is always full of plans that are very unlikely to happen. They're very unlikely to come true, yeah? So, I don't know, his plan to make the whole world united is a daydream, yeah? He's a daydreamer. Okay, to daydream, that's a very neutral word, okay? Let's try some more now. Okay, you could have delusions of grandeur. If you have delusions of grandeur, this means that you have a false impression of yourself. You think that you are better than everybody else. You feel that you have superior qualities, yeah? You know the way that everybody thinks that they are a better than average driver? Well, I guess if you think about that, it indicates we all have delusions of grandeur. But delusions of grandeur, so he has delusions of grandeur. He thinks that he should be treated like a king. Yeah, he thinks that he comes from the very best family in the country and is terribly important. Okay, so he needs to be treated in a certain way. He needs to be treated very, very well. And everything should be given to him, all respect and things like that. But if you say that someone has delusions of grandeur, you're criticising them. I think if you say they're daydreaming, you're criticising them as well. But delusions of grandeur is a more serious criticism, a harsher criticism. So, to daydream was neutral, but I think delusions of grandeur is just a little bit formal. He has delusions of grandeur. Okay, the next phrase I'm going to look at are air castles, to build castles in the air. Okay, if you are building castles in the air, you are making plans for something to happen, but your plans are unrealistic, yeah? You are building a construct that is never going to take place, yeah? If everybody gave half of their salary to the poor, then there would be no more poverty. This is a wonderful idea. It's a very good idea, but it's not realistic. If a government started to implement policy about that, you could say that they were building castles in the air. Okay, so somebody who builds castles in the air is making plans or doing things to implement something that is just not realistic. It's not going to happen. Yeah? It's unlikely to be fulfilled. Okay, I would say the phrase air castles or to build air castles is neutral formality, like to daydream. Okay, now let's look at a couple of more formal ones. A reverie. Okay, a reverie is or to be in a reverie is a formal word for a daydream. To have fanciful dreams, dreams that are unrealistic, impractical ideas. Yeah? Impractical ideas that are not going to work. Okay? I think the air castles is talking more about specific plans, whereas when you were in a reverie, your mind is carried off somewhere else, and you are thinking about things in an ideal world. It doesn't necessarily mean to be a plan, but you're thinking about things that are ideal and perfect. Going back to air castles, I think there's a story about a girl who's in a reverie, and she goes and she collects the eggs, and she starts thinking, she starts her reverie. If I take these eggs and hatch the eggs, make the chicks come out, then I can get more eggs. And if I get more eggs, then I can make more chickens. And then I can take the eggs to market and I can sell them. And then I can get more and more money. And I will be able to buy this wonderful dress that I want. And at that point, she falls over and breaks the eggs. Well, the plans that she's making are the air castles. And the reverie is the whole thought process, where she's not thinking about the real world. She's daydreaming, if you like. Yeah? And as she's not thinking about or looking at the real world, she trips over. Yeah? And the whole air castle collapses. Okay? So to be in a reverie is like this being carried away in a thought process of an ideal world. But the air castle is the specific plan that you are building. Okay, one last word, and this last word is very formal. Oneirism. Oneirism. Okay, an oneirism, it's an extremely formal and extremely unusual word that has the idea of a reverie. To be daydreaming while awake. I think if you said Oneirism to most native speakers, they wouldn't know what you were talking about. I think this word is probably more common in psychology. And in psychology, Oneirism is talking about an abnormal consciousness of the world, so that a person lives in a dreamlike state, maybe having hallucinations about things that are impractical. Okay, so if a person has an oneirism, maybe it means they have a mental problem and they can't avoid thinking about this way. Most people, you go into a daydream and you suddenly come out of it. Yeah, oh gosh, sorry, I should have been listening to you. But I think an oneirism in a psychological way is somebody who can't avoid this. It just starts to happen to them. Maybe somebody with Walter Mitty syndrome or something like that. Okay? So, oneirism, daydreaming about impractical things while you were awake. But notice this word oneirism, very formal and very unusual. Okay, so enough. To daydream, to imagine things and maybe make plans that it's not realistic, it's not real, but it's beautiful to think about. If you have delusions of grandeur, you have a false impression of yourself and you believe you are superior, that you have superior qualities to everyone else. A reverie is like a dreamlike state where your mind goes off into a daydream, daydreaming about impractical things, impractical plans. These impractical plans you could call air castles, or to build air castles. And then finally we have this word Oneirism, yeah, to daydream, but a very informal way of saying it. Okay, enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Daydream, Delusions of Grandeur, Revery, Air Castles, and Oneirism. Bye for now.